Hello everyone! Thank you for coming with us on this journey for our long-awaited High Country cooking class. I am Karen.
And I'm Abby.
And we partnered with High Country Food Hub, a nonprofit organization right in the heart of Boone, and we learned about their mission and their incentives, and we worked with them as part of a class project. And so we're going to show you how to make a vegetable beef stew and an apple pie. But before we get started, we want to introduce you to Megan from the High Country Food Hub. She's been integral in working with us and getting this show on the road. So later on, she's going to come and talk to you about more about High Country Food Hub than I can. And so, yeah, we're so excited, Megan.
Of course, I'm really excited about this partnership, and I can't wait to chat a little bit later about the Food Hub and the importance of local food. But for now, I'm going to let these ladies teach y'all how to make a really good stew.
Awesome. So, what we do first, Nyan always said to always oil up your pans so nothing sticks, but we usually put in the beef first because that usually takes the longest. It's going to brown, and then we throw it in with the vegetables. But anyway, step one, throw in the beef. Woo!
While she does that, I'm going to cut up some of the vegetables. We have potatoes, onion, carrots, celery, and this is all going to go in here and start to steam.
Yeah, and one of the great things about High Country Food Hub, all of the food that we have here is from local farms. And Megan's going to talk more about it later, but it's super important to shop local for a variety of reasons. And we're so excited that this has been sponsored by All Local Foods. So, one of the things that, again, my Nana always said to do was we have beef broth that is what we use for your main broth for the vegetable beef stew, and then I use it to add a little bit of flavor to the beef before we throw it in with the rest of the vegetables. So, yeah, if you are vegan or vegetarian or you have different dietary preferences, you are more than welcome to advocate or go against using meat. You can just make it a vegetable stew. That's really good too. All you do is you take away the meat and take away the beef stock. What you can do is you can take some old vegetables or vegetables you probably won't cook with, and you can let it sit in water overnight and then salt that water and then use that as your broth. Or you just can find a cream of mushroom soup, whatever you'd prefer to do.
But onion doesn't make you cry. It's not a good onion.
Yeah. Onion 1, Abby 0. So, again, this beef was given to us locally, and so naturally, I like to spice things up. And so I'm going to add garlic powder, and then salt, onion powder, and then some pepper to add some pizzazz to our meat while Abby continues to cut our vegetables. And really, it's just at your convenience. I tend to err on the side of caution when I put my seasoning on, because my mom always says that you can put seasoning on, but you can't take it back. So again, we're getting on the side of caution because I want all of us who are here to enjoy this. And I do want to put a disclaimer out. I know we are in the middle of a pandemic, but everyone who is here, with the exception of us, is masked and we are at a safe distance. We are not masked, but we are both vaccinated, and we are from a safe distance, and so we are being safe. High Country Food Hub supports being safe in the time of COVID-19. So again, if the meat's taking too long, like the meat is right now, to cook, you can definitely turn the heat up. I live in an apartment, and whenever I cook any meat that isn't chicken, it gives me some attitude, and it'll smell like it's burning, but it's not burning, and sometimes it'll cause my what's it called, fire alarm to go off. So my neighbors don't like me, but it's gotten better. We've talked to maintenance a couple times, and they've worked with us to get it fixed. So while the meat is cooking, I'm turning the beef up. I'm going to help Abby cut some more of our vegetables. That's going to go into the stew. So like she said, we have potatoes, carrots, onions, celery. You can add, subtract as you prefer. We like all of those, so we added all of them.
We chose this recipe because it's super flexible with all diets, and it's pretty simple overall. But we thought this would be and it's a great rainy day to have a beef stew.
Yeah, we couldn't have picked a better day to cook a stew. Yeah, the universe decided we'll make it worth it your while. So we are all right now on camera. You see Abby and I, but there are a couple people behind the scenes who are making it integral for this to work out. And we also have some people who are probably watching this right now who have been super great and keeping in contact with Megan and all of the people we worked with at High Country Food Hub. And so super huge thanks to them for doing all that they did to like make this happen. And we wouldn't be here without all of our team's efforts. And so we just want to talk a little bit about our class. So we are all App State students, and we took a social media strategies class. And our big project for this class was to host a digital event. So normally in event planning, you plan for an event to be like outside with people, but COVID-19 has kind of thrown that opportunity for us. So Dr. Daniel, our professor at App State, he challenged us to have a digital event in the time of COVID, so we could still learn all it takes for marketing, planning, execution of events, and utilizing social media to get word out. And so we did a digital, and so he had us pick a nonprofit in Boone, just so it was easier and more able to happen. We picked High Country Food Hub just because with the pandemic, we knew that food scarcity and not knowing where your next meal is coming from is a real problem, whether we're in a pandemic or not. And so in order to address that, we decided to partner with High Country Food Hub because they work with local farms, and then they also work to provide meals based on the donations that they get with their partnerships. And so they help in addressing food insecurity. And so in light of that, we're super excited to have worked with them. So Abby's gone ahead and put in a whole bunch of carrots, potatoes, and onion. She's working on her last potato right now. Again, we kind of have we have our pan on it's on 4, so it's really whatever you prefer. We definitely wouldn't suggest having it boiling right away because it's going to be popping up at you. But I just turned it up a little bit just so the vegetables can start to simmer and soften. Vegetable beef soup tastes best when the vegetables are soft. I just added the celery, so yay for that. Well, the meat's taking the longest time. That's why you did the meat first. But I'm about to add some garlic. Garlic is your best friend. So I washed my hands too. I'm gonna add this. Don't worry, hands are washed. But back to our class, we did this as a big project to make this digital event. We chose High Country Food Hub, and we've been working with them since the start of the class back in
it's been about 12 weeks.
Yeah, we've been working at this for a while, and we've had multiple Zoom calls, and Abby and I practiced this the other week, and it turned out pretty good. So we're super excited to see what you think if you choose to make this on your own. But this took a lot of team planning and lots of contact and patience, and we wouldn't be able to do it if we didn't have such a great team to work with. But we definitely learned with this project the depth that social media has on digital events working, because we used Facebook and Instagram as our primary reaches to the community, whether it was a local community or even just our own personal community. And as a result, we saw how integral social media is, and knowing how to market to people or market to the community, or what to post and how often to post it, to make all this happen. Got the garlic off my hands.
For the project as well, we really had to make like a schedule and work together, which is hard with the pandemic. This is like our first time actually meeting for the event. But we made a checklist of weekly things to do, and all together we've made this happen. So far so good.
Yeah, Abby and I met to practice it, but the other people who are here who are taking care of social media, Shelly over here is you can't see her, but she's working on social media, and Bravin is our main cameraman. He's making sure that we are live and we stay live. Not quite yet. But if it weren't for them, we wouldn't have this done. And this is the first time we've met both Bravin and Shelly, and they're great, and we wouldn't have been able to make this happen without them. So we're gonna let the meat brown for a couple more minutes. You don't have to have it completely cooked when you put it into the soup. We usually we have it like most of the way cooked. So when you put it in, it still is good. It still retains some of its juices, but it still cooks along with it. That's super important. While we wait for the meat to brown, I'm gonna hand some of the spices over to Abby, and we are gonna spice things up.
And the good thing about beef as well, unlike chicken and other meats, you don't have to cook it fully right there. So it will definitely cook more, like Karen was saying, in here as it steams. But the browning is taking a little bit longer, so we went ahead and started that as our first step.
Yeah, she just put in some salt and then some garlic powder, oregano, just for like color. Oregano's colorful. And also gives good flavor. After we spice things up, that was onion powder, this is black pepper. We're gonna add the beef stock, beef broth, whichever one you prefer to use, to make the main broth consistency. So definitely mix things up so we can distribute the flavors everywhere. And then after we throw all that together, we are going to make, or at least prep the apple pie, which I'm personally super excited for. So both Abby and I are from North Carolina, so we're both little Southern belles. She's from the Charlotte area, I'm from the Raleigh area, and so both apple pie and vegetable beef stew are kind of near and dear to our heart, because during the winter months, or even just on rainy days, having access to a hearty stew or soup was always good. So I got when I got the shot, I definitely felt the side effects, and so I had a chicken noodle soup frozen from when I had made some a couple months beforehand, and I broke that out, and it was just perfect for these kinds of times when you just want something homey that you're used to. So I'm gonna let the beef cook for a couple more minutes, just because there are some parts that aren't quite cooked to my preference before we throw them in there. But we are gonna move over to the apple pie. So perfect. So with the apple pie, we have apples and pie crust. What you do is, first off, the hardest part is just to cut the apples. We have a couple apples that are already cut, and we're gonna cut one more for you. There's no art to it. You just cut it however you want it to show up in your pie. Again, these are especially from one of our local farms that works in partnership with the High Country Food Hub, and we're super excited to try them. So yeah, if you find yourself like on your next grocery shop and you're inspired, give High Country Food Hub a try. You have to go on their website and you have to order it by a certain day, but they like package it, deliver it, and have it ready for you to pick up within a couple of days. You just their website's super user friendly. You go on, you figure out how to like you add stuff to your cart, you finish that cart, and then it shows up ready to be picked up a couple days later. Megan's gonna talk about that more, but once we have all this stage, we're gonna call her up and she's gonna give you the real scoop about the High Country Food Hub. So I, fun fact, didn't make an apple pie up until like this year, and they had always been made for me, and I decided one day I wanted to learn, and I really liked it. Pro tip, if you have a sweet tooth like I do, pair it with vanilla ice cream. It's definitely really good with that. We didn't bring any for us, but make sure you get some if you choose to make this. Get some vanilla ice cream to accompany your apple pie. Alright, so we're almost done cutting. I'm going to show you how you do the pie crust. It's not rocket science. I thought it would be, but it's not. We got 2 pie crusts. I'm going to show you in just a second, but we're going to lay one out onto a pre-oiled pie dish. Anything that is safe to go in the oven, you can consider a pie dish. So, example A, pie dish. We're gonna oil it. So when it comes time to take it out and eat it, it comes out a lot easier than if you don't. Now, I think the hardest part of this whole thing will be unrolling the pie crust. But just pack your patience. I know on the High Country Food Hub website there are a whole bunch of delicious bakery and sweets you can choose from. So what I just did was I unrolled the pie crust and I threw it in here, and here Abby is checking the meat. You could probably go ahead and throw in the meat. It's really up to you when you throw in the meat into the stew. I just like to wait until it's mostly cooked because I don't want anyone to get food poisoning on my hands. And so we're just gonna throw it in there. So Abby just turned her burner off, super important because now I'm not cooking anything. I'm gonna turn up the burner that's cooking our beef stew, and then Abby's gonna put the top back on so it can simmer and the flavors can mold.
We can finish the apple pie.
Yeah, we're gonna finish staging the apple pie, and then in just a second, Megan's gonna come up and talk to you about High Country Food Hub. So while Abby finishes prepping that, next part after you lay your initial pie crust, you have your apples. You're gonna take the bag and you are gonna put in your apple marinade. Will you hold the bag, Bruce? So I'm gonna have Abby hold the bag, and I'm gonna put in the apple marinade, which is basically what the stuff. We're gonna put all the apples in there and shake up all the sugar and all the unhealthy parts of apple pie, so it coats into the apples nicely. So if you have any young kids doing this with you, this is a really good job for them because it helps work on their math and their fractions, and it's also fun because they get to shake a bag full of apples. So I have the exact measurements that I can tell you, because I know some people don't like to guesstimate, so I will respect that. So you have 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, and I don't have a tablespoon, so we're gonna guesstimate that. But I'll give you. But you have a tablespoon at home, so you can put in a whole tablespoon. Then we have a 1/2 cup of sugar. Again, I've got a sweet tooth, so I guesstimate everything. But yeah, 1/2 cup. Don't be like me and take your 1/2 cup measure and put in 1/2 cup of sugar. And don't worry, you're not done yet. That's probably the 1/2 cup. And then you're gonna do 1/2 cup of brown sugar. Now you've done that.
You can always add more, like as you put the apples in and everything,
And we
to your
probably
liking.
will, because you can garnish it as you see fit, or add more if you've got a sweet tooth. So then you need a little bit of cinnamon. You can add flour if you like, but our pie crust came pre-floured, so that was nice. Throw in some cinnamon. I'm gonna put a little bit more lemon juice in there so that it can make a little bit of a paste and it can stick to the apples. But obviously we don't want to cancel out any of that delicious sugar. So now we are going to carefully put in all of our apples and massage all of the goodness into the apples. We don't want any seeds going into the apples. A little tedious, but definitely worth it. We're gonna have a whole lot of apples. So
zip it up tightly.
yeah, make sure it's zipped up because we're gonna massage all that we can of our apple, all of that stuff into our apples. While she does that, I'm gonna take out our beef stew. It's probably coming along quite nicely. Ooh, did you see that? Mmm. It does smell really good. I'm gonna add a couple more spices. This is all up to you, but I'm always really scared that my food is gonna taste like nothing, so I spice things up. But it is totally your preference. You know what you like. I know what I like. Hopefully Abby will like this too. See, Abby's doing a really nice job of massaging all of our apple pie marinade into the apples. So when we lay them into cook, they lay in nicely and the flavor gets absorbed.
And you can see how much of like the sugar material is on the apple. So if you didn't put enough in there, you can definitely put more. It looks like we put just a perfect amount for all the apples that we have.
Especially since we estimated. Yeah, things are starting to soften. That's how you know your beef stew is coming along, is when things start to soften. Specifically the potatoes. Vegetables won't take as long, but potatoes, you know how long it takes to get these potatoes to soften. So once you see that they're starting to soften, that's when you know things are well underway. So now that we have, also clean up as you go. Good for Abby. This is something my mom always says for me to do, is to clean up as you go. Take all the stuff that you don't need, so you don't have to worry about it afterward. Because all you want to do afterward, when everything's done, is to eat. So be like Abby. So now for the fun part. Here, if you want to do that, we're gonna go ahead and pour the apples in to the pie bowl. There is no art to it. I mean, there can be, but for the sake of your attention span, there's not gonna be. Weird. Oh, sorry. Ooh, these have so much sugar on them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so excited.
More.
Might as well use all of them. Nice. So we got a lot of apples in here. So I think we cut about 4 apples, and you see like how, I mean, those apples, like, they look small, but they extend pretty far. So just make sure all your apples are within your little pie crust, and then just arrange them however you want them to be arranged. Take out any seeds. That's embarrassing. Alright, so I'm gonna rinse off my hands, and then we're gonna put the final pie crust on top.
It definitely is a messy recipe, but it's worth it.
Yeah. Perfect. So again, hack your patience with these. Unravel them. Oopsies. And granted, you can go and find pie crusts at Haggood or wherever, and I'm trying not to break it. And you can find pie crusts that are frozen and they're already like shaped nicely, and so all you gotta do is pour everything in there. But I think there's something about like putting on your own pie crust, and so I plan just topping it off like that. No harm done, no harm, no foul. And then just make sure that your apples are covered. There's a hair. Make sure there's no hairs in your apple pie. And then I had my Nana, she likes to do designs with her pies, and so she will the last time she made a pie, she posted it on Facebook, and she like cut out hearts. We didn't have time for hearts today. So we're just making sure that it's covered and that we can get it out later. I'm just over here folding it over really nicely. All right. Then last thing is that we want the apples to breathe a little bit. So I'm going to cut some slits into it, so our apples can cook but not get absolutely terminated. And you can do whatever like cuts you want. I mean, you don't have to do like safe lines. I'm just doing safe lines for me. There is no art unless you want there to be art about it. Perfect. Now, if you are younger than young, make sure you have adults help to do this. Put it into an oven. We have it at 350, 375. It depends on how long how done you want it to do, how fast you want it to be done. So just go ahead, stick it in. Make sure you use oven mitts. Don't be like me. And then you're gonna put that away, and set like a timer for about 15-20 minutes. Just watch it, kind of like brownies. We're gonna turn on our beef stew one more time. Ooh, she's boiling. And then after we turn on our beef stew, you're gonna exit stage left, and Megan is gonna come up and talk about High Country Food Hub. Right. Here comes Megan, everyone.
I'm gonna take my mask off so that everyone can hear me correctly. So yeah, as Karen and Abby said, my name is Megan and I work with the Food Hub as an AmeriCorps Vista. I technically work for Blue Ridge Women in Agriculture, which is an organization that runs the Food Hub. So I'm going to talk a little bit about a variety of things, mostly the Food Hub, but I'm also going to talk about why I think local food is really important, as well as a little bit about Blue Ridge Women in Ag and what they do. And yeah, so a little about me. Like I said, my name is Megan. I graduated from App State in 2020 in May, and then I almost immediately started working at Blue Ridge Women in Ag. I graduated with a degree in sustainable development, so I obviously really had a passion for the environment. And I decided in 2019 that I really cared about local food and farmers in this area. One fun fact about Boone is we have an incredibly robust local food system. It's like surprisingly robust. There's a ton of farms around here, and they're all very interconnected. I don't know actual stats about this, but like per capita, I feel like there's so many farms. It's just so interesting that we live in a place where local food is bountiful and really like sustainably sourced. So that's one thing I really love about Boone. Anyway, that's just a little, I digress really. But like I said, I work for the Food Hub, and so the Food Hub is essentially an online farmers market as well as a shared storage facility for farmers that may not be able to store their excess products on their farm. Storage is a big deal for farmers because it means it allows for you to effectively scale up your operation. If you can store, let's say, more meat on your farm, you're able to therefore aim to sell more meat, and that means you can keep scaling up your operation and make it profitable for you, which is really important because farming is a business as much as we romanticize it. People need to make money for the work they're doing for farms. So anyway, we are both a farmer's market and a shared storage facility. So we have a ton of freezers, a ton of walk-in coolers, fridges, all throughout the space. And that's where farms are allowed to like rent space for pretty expensive and store their products there. But the most recognizable and perhaps interesting part of the Food Hub is that we are an online farmers market that has over like 500 products listed a week, ranging, like Karen said, from delicious sweets and handmade chocolates, all the way to stew meat, like the meat we use today from Moffett Tulin Farm down in Wilkes County. We've got apples, all the produce you can imagine, and it's all from within 100 miles of Boone. So that's really, really cool. We're pretty hyper-local. We've got a couple farms that are literally like a 10-minute drive away. And so when you're ordering food from those farms, that's coming from right down the road. It was grown from seed to final product right down the road, which I think is really awesome. So some background on the Food Hub. We opened in 2016 after hearing that farmers were looking for storage space, and we were growing pretty incrementally as a business or as part of this nonprofit. And so then we were doing pretty well, and we were really excited about people getting involved and being excited about local food. But then in obviously 2020 in the spring, the real impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic were felt, and our business at the Food Hub literally quadrupled, quintupled, is that a word? It went up basically like 400%. So we went from having about 100 customers a week, and that was like a pretty good week, to at our peak last spring having over 500. And so that happened within literally a month, and our staff were incredibly overwhelmed and surprised, but also really heartened to see the community realizing that supporting local in this time of kind of food scarcity, as well as just being really concerned about supply chain issues. Everyone kind of jumped in. We put in a ton of work. We were able to like meet those obligations and make those orders happen. And since then, we've still seen numbers have gone down. Thankfully, the 500 was a pretty unsustainable number for us, we're at about 250 orders a week, which is really awesome. We're really excited to see the more engagement that we're getting from the community. And it's just really heartening to see people continuing to buy from us and be really excited about the work that we are doing. We sometimes laugh because people like to compliment us, not to brag, but it's really nice. I think one thing that I'm going to kind of talk about with local food is that it establishes this really strong community. And community is kind of a big buzzword that a lot of environmentalists use. If you're on the environmental scene, you'll hear it a lot, and even if you're not, community obviously isn't a rare word. But I think one of the important things that local food does is just that by inherently getting to know the people that are growing your food, it kind of adds an even deeper relational aspect to food. We all can probably talk about how integral food is and how tied into like emotions and relationships food and eating is. But I think one thing that we've kind of gotten away from in like an industrial agriculture society is that we build our relationships around the finished product, but we don't necessarily build our relationships around the source of that product. So we're not meeting the farmers, we're not shaking their hands saying thanks for this, thanks for putting in the work. And that's why I think movements kind of like the Food Hub, all the work that Blue Ridge Women in Agriculture does to support farmers as well as like create more accessibility to local food, all that is kind of part of this just big movement that's going to make, in my opinion, the world just a little bit better. Obviously, it's not an end-all be-all solution because there's so many different things at play in anything really, but especially local food. But I think any progress is good progress, even if it is kind of small, like a drop in the bucket. But I think we're doing really good work and we're trying really hard. So that's something I'm really excited about. So I'm going to talk a little bit about one program that I'm really excited about that we've had going on for a while at the Food Hub. It's like our main food access program, and I think it's important to talk about it because food access is obviously really important. People need to eat no matter what. Food is a human right. And one thing about local food that is perhaps my least favorite thing is just that it is more expensive than food you buy from the grocery store. Sometimes local food activists will say that it's not, but it totally is, and I think it's important to acknowledge that and think about how to work through that. One way that our organization tries to work through it is that we have this program called the Double Up Food Bucks program, and that essentially doubles the value of any government nutrition program funding, so like EBT, SNAP, WIC, as well as vouchers for elderly people. That money is essentially doubled through the organization. It's all like grant funding and community donations. So for example, let's say you order $10 worth of produce on the Food Hub, you're only paying $5 of your government benefit money, which is really awesome. It helps make those dollars go a little further, and it gives people maybe the opportunity as well as incentive to buy local if maybe that was inaccessible to them before. So that's one program I think is really, really important to talk about. We're always looking for donations for that, and I know we work really hard to get the word out about that program. So that's one thing I did want to mention. And the last couple things I want to talk about are just my personal reasons why I think local food matters. There's a lot, but I just chose ones that I think are really important to me. So as I said earlier, local food helps create community. I think it's really important to get to know people, strengthen your community through meeting new folks, especially the ones that are growing the food you're eating. It also kind of helps to create the groundwork for a regional economy. Right now we live in a world where a lot of our stuff is created and shipped across the globe, across the country. That's not exactly sustainable, and I think it's more important to put your resources in either your local or regional economy. For example, like a regional economy could be like just the Southeast, and I think even that is better than what we're currently operating on, which is like a global scale. Additionally, local food generally is more sustainable in multiple ways. Not only is the transportation distance shortened from farm to table, which obviously contributes greenhouse gases to the environment. Not only that, but there's generally less plastic packaging when you buy local, especially if you're buying directly from a farmer's market. So that's really cool. If you really care about reducing single-use plastics, that's one way to do it, is just buy local. Another thing that's sustainable about local food is that it's usually grown using organic methods. or at least more sustainable methods than industrial, like large-scale farms. So that's really important to think about as well. Some of these farmers have done a lot of research and are doing really awesome work to just kind of like regenerate the soils as well as kind of produce less waste through their operations. And then the last two things that I think are really important about local food, and the reason why I like it so much, is that more money goes directly into the hands of farmers and neighbors. I saw a stat the other day, I don't remember exactly, but it said, I think that like only 3 cents of every dollar of like produce that you buy is actually making it back to the hands of that farmer, which is totally unsustainable and not fair for the farmer, because they're the ones doing that really, really hard labor of creating that food, and they're not getting paid appropriately. And lastly, if you care a lot about your health, which I do, and I'm sure most people do, local food is generally healthier as well as fresher because it's harvested, you know, within a couple days of you getting it. And the second something is harvested and picked, it ends up starting to lose its nutrients over time. So if you're eating, you know, some lettuce in the store that you bought from the grocery store, that can be generally like already 3 weeks old before you even get it. Whereas if you are buying lettuce from the food hub or a farmer's market, it's only going to be like a day or 2 old at maximum. So I think those things are really important. Lastly, this is my actual last point, I should tell you how to use the food hub if you ever want to place an order and you're in the Boone area. So you'll go to highcountryfoodhub.org. You can place your order from Thursday at noon all the way till Monday at midnight for pickup on Wednesdays. And so pickup on Wednesdays is 12 to 6:30 p.m. We like prep your order, we put it all together, we weigh all the produce or meats that you've ordered, and then all you do is show up and pick up your order on Wednesdays, and we bring it out to you. We have like a texting system, so you don't even have to get out of your car besides just to grab the order. It's super safe. It's also outside, so there's no really COVID scares, and we try to be really diligent about that and safety. So if you've never tried it before, it'd be awesome if you could. But yeah, so like I said, I'm Megan, and that's kind of a little bit about the food hub, local food, whatever, all that. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan, for speaking about that. We really enjoyed working with them, as they've been really like insightful about local food, and their mission statement and everything they do is really important to the local farmers in Boone. So it's great to be able to support something like that.
Yeah, they really are great. I mean, we reached out to them and they reached out to us. They reached back out to us like super quickly, and as like desperate college students who needed an organization to work with, they were super accommodating. They were super communicative, and that was really integral and important for our project. So as Megan said, it is so important to eat local, and I'm not going to take away from Megan's points, but essentially when you eat local, you are being more accountable to your carbon footprint, and you are supporting like the farmers who do all this work and aren't necessarily fairly compensated. So we are about to check on our beef stew and then our apple pie. Apple pie has been cooking for too long, so we're gonna let her do her thing. But
the beef stew is really soft. Everything's been really boiling together, and it smells amazing. So,
do you want to go down and maybe show you?
I'm gonna check out the apple pie too.
So, here we're gonna make sure you're safe. We're gonna get some.
It's starting to brown.
When you go and check on the apple pie or go to take it out, make sure you have like oven mitts or you have like kitchen rags so you are not touching the hot glass or hot pan that it is cooking in. Abby just checked and she said it looks really good, and so we're super excited about it. We are currently with our beef stew. It's getting there.
I would say it's close to done.
Almost close to done. So basically just to the cooking for dummies. If you're not sure when to know when it's done, there's always a taste test. You can taste it and you can say, no, it needs some time, or
and you can always add more spices.
Yeah, add as you need. Like I like to spice things up, but with beef stew, whenever things start to get really soft and like the flavors have simmered, that's how you know things are close to being done. So looks like apple pie needs a couple more time. It needs a little bit more time. The dough isn't quite risen. So, but Abby's gonna try some, or we can try some beef stew. And then I think after this, I mean, we're not done. Don't go away yet. But we're definitely gonna try some because this is good, and this was all provided by the vendors and partnerships that High Country Food Hub works with. So we're super excited. Everything's so hot. Make sure when you try it, it's not really hot because you don't ruin your mouth. I'm gonna find a spoon and we're gonna try it. This is kind of the awkward part. We're just waiting for everything to be done. So this is the part when you tell your family, be like, hey, it's almost done. And they're like, oh, can we try it? And you say, no, not yet. And they're like, oh. So. It's good. It's hot. It's good.
And the longer it sits in the beef stew, it's gonna cook more. Everything's gonna cook more because it is very hot. So I would say slowly we can start to take it off the burner. It's gonna keep cooking. The potatoes are super soft. You can tell by pushing on them. The carrots are very soft.
That's the longest part, is waiting for the carrots to soften up. Those bad boys, they take their sweet time, but it's definitely worth it. If you have any questions, you can go to High Country Food Hub, highcountryfoodhub.com to look and see what they're all about. I mean, Megan just gave you a fantastic presentation that kind of told you about like the mission and like efforts that they take each and every day to deliver local. And so I think it's a great organization to be a part of and to contribute and get food from. They provided all of the ingredients we used, and so none of it came out of our pocket, and we were supporting local, and we were limiting our carbon footprint. So like gold star for today, and we're just kind of playing the waiting game, and so we so appreciate you guys coming to our cooking show. This has been in the works for months, and we've been working really hard, and we are so excited that we were able to successfully work with High Country Food Hub to make this happen, because we want, we know food insecurity and is a real problem, and food is a human right, like Megan said, and so we need to do what we can, support local, and eat local, and do what we can to alleviate those issues, pandemic or not. So, yeah. If you want to speed things up, you can always turn the burner up. I think our beef stew is about done, so that's super exciting. It's really up to you. You cook it as long as you want. Just be cautioned that if you cook it too long, the meat might dry up. So, but you can always revive that with some salt.
The apple pie is starting to brown a little bit, so I would give it just a few more minutes so it's like nice and soft. But you saw it was pretty simple to make, simple to wait for it to be done, and it's gonna be super good once we cut it up.
Yeah, it's a great little family activity. Like, I mean, it teaches you fractions, and not with what we did, we guesstimated everything. But it helps you practice your fractions. It teaches you about accountability and eating local, and you sneak your vegetables in. So if you don't like vegetables like me, you don't like to be a rabbit, it doesn't taste like you're eating just vegetables. You get a little bit of everything, and then you get a big reward with a large slice of apple pie. So exciting stuff. Alright, so I think that Abby and I are going to call it a day. We don't want to overcook it and dry out the local meat. We're going to let it sit. We're probably going to put the top back on, like that, and just let the flavors sit. And we appreciate you guys for watching. You're more than welcome to stay on while we wait for the apple pie, but everything now is just a waiting game. So thank you for making this project happen, everyone. You helped some college kids out. And we're done, but it's like the whole like thing in a movie where you like see all the credits and then there's like a hidden scene. Well, that's us. So we wanted to show you a bit of like how it turned out. It looks really good, and so we're gonna eat it afterward. But we also want to give a shout out to like everyone who like worked to make this happen. So thank you to Megan for specifically meeting with us every single week on Mondays at 12. And no matter what circumstances, like not even all of us went, but she always was there to talk about any issues, any questions we had. Like her, and especially like representing High Country Food Hub, they were great working with us and being so accommodating. Like we are in their building right now, using their facilities to make this happen. And then thank you to Sam and Lakin, who are probably not watching this right now, but they were super integral in communicating with Megan and High Country Food Hub initially to get our partnership started. And then Bailey and Megan specifically, thank you for the like the fiscal work you did, getting the Venmo set up in the donation center, which you are more than welcome to still donate to. You guys were super big in posting and getting all of that stuff ready. And then thank you to Abby and I for hosting this. And then Shelly and Bravin are behind the scenes. They're here with us, but they were integral. They were here with us. Shelly has been keeping you guys updated about where we are in our cooking stages. Bravin is the man with the camera. He has been moving the scene as we've been moving around this kitchen, and he's been making sure that no extra sounds like the air conditioning get into our live stream.
But thank you so much for joining us. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and
let us show you what we did. It's very hot, but we can at least show you the apple pie. Here she is. I don't know if she's spilling. I'll clean it up.
And then we have our finished
and then
stew
we
right
have
here.
the stew. I'm not gonna lift it because it's gonna spill more of this than the pie did. But just check back on our Facebook later and you'll see pictures of the food and then pictures of us probably eating it. So have a good rest of your day, everyone. Stay dry.